everybody, welcome back to another video, and in this video we'll continue the topic of vector embeddings. So in the previous video we talked about how vector embeddings play a crucial part within the studies of natural language processing, machine and deep learning, and how it is like an integral part of all of these studies. So if you haven't seen the previous video, I really recommend that you do. I'm gonna hook it up in the cards above. So yeah, do check it out. All right, so we took a very basic example here. For example, if I type in hello, then what I really need is my program or my model to actually suggest me the next probable word, something that fits in the sentence perfectly, mathematically and also intuitively. So how can I achieve that? So we took two examples, one sentence of hello world right over here, and we actually dictated that it would be great if we could represent this particular sentence as a mathematical block. And in this mathematical block we have two words or two dimensions, so they can be represented by 1 and zeros. So for hello I'm using 1 right here, and for world I'm using 1 right here. In the very next example, we have hello, and I'm using 1 right here for hello and 0 for the world, because there is no world in this particular phrase or sentence. So we also took this example further, and we talked about how we can represent every sentence in a n plane. For example, if there are n tokens within the sentence, we can sort of imagine mathematically that there's a plane with n dimensions. And although it's very hard to visualize that, but just imagine, and it's a mathematical possibility that a plane can have n dimensions, and you can plot a particular vector in that n-dimensional space. In this example, luckily we only have 2 dimensions, and we can obviously visualize it on paper in 2D. So I'm using like 2xy plane over here. So and I'm plotting my sentences over my x and y plane. So we have 1 1. This is hello world right over here. And at the bottom within the x-axis we have 1 0, which is just hello. All right, now the use case is pretty simple. We need world to be identified as the most probable next word. So how can we do that? Obviously we have these vectors, these numeric representation of our texts or tokens within the text. But how can we actually do the math around it? Or how do these models that we have today, these chat GPTs, the Gmail version of writing emails where your sentence get completed? So how can we sort of achieve that? So at a very ground level, we have the concept of cosine similarity. And this is often associated with vectors, and it's like a integral concept whenever we talk about computing similarities between two particular vectors. So in this case, the one that we already have, if you see, imagine that we had like another vector over here, and imagine we had another vector over here. Or let's even imagine we had a vector over here. Let me give it a, all right. So given in this particular space, in this 2-dimensional space, how would you sort of figure out that which is the most similar vector to my x vector? By x vector, I mean this x vector, the hello, not this x vector at the top. So obviously we have these 3 options, and the most intuitive answer would be that what if we find the distances over here, and our distances with this vector our distances with this vector and our distance with this vector. It's intuitive, but obviously imagine now that you have a n space or even more dimensions than the 2 dimension itself. Imagine you have 3 dimensions, you have vectors scattered everywhere, so the calculating of distance would not always compute in the actually perfect answer for you. So we have to get a bit creative. So a more probable solution would be that what if we sort of find the angle between them and the angle between here and then the angle between right here. I know it's getting a bit messy, but I hope you get the concept. So that's where cosine similarity comes in. So whenever you have, all right, my battery's always running low, but that's okay, not a problem. So let's say we have 2 dimensions as above, and I'm gonna replicate my vectors over here since that diagram just got messy. All right, now if we sort of find out, like what's the angle between here, and if that angle sort of helps us in calculating the proximity between these 2 vectors, then it's a win, right? Then we finally figure out that which is the closest vector, and that's what we are finding, the closest vector. Now, cosine similarity sort of helps us in that because it gives us a formula through which we can sort of compute that. So the formula goes about like this. So we have cos theta. This theta is basically this theta over here. So it's equal to dot product of 2 vectors. Consider like if this is A, this is B, the dot product of A and B, and divided by the norm of products of A and B. All right, so a norm of any vector is basically considered to be the distance from the origin to the last point of the vector. Or you can say the distance of the vector is basically computed through a norm. So the formula is basically like this. So you have x1 square plus x2 square plus x3 square and da 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 da. So that's what the norm actually represents. All right, so through this we can sort of compute how similar a particular vector is. Now let me throw in a few examples. Let me redraw this diagram real quick, and I'm gonna 3 versions of it. A, B, C. Let's replicate our vectors. 1 1 1 1 1 0 1 0, and I'm gonna label it real quick. This is my vector A and this is my vector B. A, B. I'm gonna swipe this up. So A represents hello world and B represents just hello, and we want our completion right here. All right, so the vector between them is theta, theta, and theta. All right, so in this particular case, if I had a particular vector, let's say, let me grab this. If my vector sort of aligns with this vector right over here, and consider it as a vector C, and I want to compute the similarity between vector C and A. So how would we do that? According to the formula, the angle between C and A is 0. So cos of 0 would be 1. Now, let's say this very same vector aligns with C. Let me give this a hook. And given that this is 1, given that this is 1, and this is 0, then this would be 45 degrees to be exact. So cos of 45 degrees would be equal to 0.7-ish. All right. And now let's consider that if the vector is directly perpendicular, it makes a 90-degree with B. And I want cos similarity between my vector C and B. So cos 90 would be 0. All right, so now mathematically, what does it represent? Let's talk about A first. Now, since my vector aligns with A, so we're talking about C and A over here. Since my vector aligns with A and it makes no angle, the angle is 0 degree, which means that I found my perfect similar vector over here. And that's what it represents. 1 means that you have an absolute best similarity. You get a win. That's what it means. Now, in this particular example, in example B, we have 0.7-ish, sort of a number that actually we get from our cosine similarity or our cos of theta, which just means that, there is a high probability that this is that vector that you need. And in the very last example, we have cos 90. So both C and B are perpendicular to each other, which means like they're sort of ways apart. They're like not entirely in the opposite direction, but seems like they don't have anything in common. And that's what it represented by the 0 over here. So that's how cos similarity plays an important part in sort of embeddings. So whenever you have vectors, obviously there will be tons of numeric within just one token. We're just talking about 2 tokens over here, hello and world. But in the real life example, there can be like hundreds of tokens for a particular sentence, thousands of tokens for a particular sentence. So they can be n number of dimensions. So in that, this is what the intuitive idea is. That's how it works. This is how the cosine similarity helps you, that what is the kind of the vector you're needing. What's the kind of the next probable token that you need. And that's how most of the models out there really help you guess that next probable word. So yeah, that's the idea behind cosine similarity and how it works. I hope you liked the video. If you have any questions, please post them down within the comment section. And I'll see you in the next video where we would actually use OpenAI to generate embeddings for our sentences. And we'll be leveraging those embeddings into a new program where we sort of leverage other OpenAI APIs with our embeddings and try to do something fun. Yeah, that's the idea. So I'll catch you in the next video.